Welcome back to another episode of In the Foxhole. I'm your host, JC Chanowski.
And I'm Angela Schroeder.
Good afternoon, Angela. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I am good. And, we've had a ton of guests on already in our previous episodes. And I usually get more excited when it's Christmas related. And our next guest today, Jimmy, it was 5 months ago, I think it was. I didn't even know who Jimmy was. And Ryan Lee, I was talking to Ryan Lee. I was on the phone with him. And I was like, what are you doing this weekend? He's like, oh, I'm going up to Raleigh, going to the show. I was like, I know nothing about it. Like, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. He's like, you need to come up there and be teaching up there. It'd be a good time. So I had Jimmy as a friend on Facebook. I reached out to Jimmy, never talked to him before. I was like, hey, I'm so-and-so. Thinking about coming up there with my kids this weekend. What are your thoughts? Like, without hesitation, Jimmy said, just come on up, bring the kids. It's going to be a good time. We got a couple days of training. We're going to go out to do go-karts and some video games afterwards. And that was like my intro to Jimmy. So I came up to Raleigh, and when I drove up to his shop, it was like a Christmas winter wonderland. Like I was in heaven. They got big toy soldier outside, lights up there. And I walked in, he had lights everywhere, like spritzers and wreaths and garlands and toy soldiers in there. And it was incredible. And I walked in and Jimmy opened his door and said, I'm Jimmy. Let's have some fun and learn. And that was like my intro to Jimmy. It's been like one of the best relationships I've had in a very long time. So Jimmy, welcome to In the Foxhole.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. It's exactly how I remember it as well. So I think we're one for one so far. That's a good start.
I didn't know you'd only known him for a few months.
Oh, I didn't know Jimmy like for a day or two. We only talked for a day. Oh yeah, this whole time. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, since August, or when was that? September, October?
It was July actually.
No,
July Up conference in Raleigh was July. Yep.
Oh God, time flies.
And then we saw you at GIE, and then I got to come see your Winter Wonderland, and then we just got to spend an amazing weekend with you, hosting us at all kinds of sports. So.
I can't believe that. Time flies. Holy cow.
But appreciate you guys. Awesome.
Yeah, so happy to have you on. Had an incredible weekend with you and your wife. Some sporting events this weekend. So much fun. Thank you for the hospitality. But I know about 7 months of Jimmy. Angela knows a couple of months. Why don't you tell our viewers about yourself, your company, and what you have going on?
Yeah, so that's pretty much me in a nutshell. I kind of not a big social media guy. I don't get into all that stuff, but I do what I do, and I love every bit of what I get to do. So crazily enough, still run 3 different companies. My heart and soul always was in the landscaping industry, and still there. Started that company when I was 15 years old, and was really honestly trying to buy a car. And that was about the only thing I could do getting a job was cutting grass. So did landscaping all the way through, and got the thing to a pretty decent sized company. I was like, this is kind of fun. I enjoy what I'm doing, and learned a lot of things the hard way, of course, because I had no formal education. It was just me in a truck figuring out life and figuring out what customer service really meant and all that good jazz. And it really just kind of opened up, and I was like, this is something that I could really find myself loving for the rest of my life. And grew up in a family where my dad was gone Monday through Friday, and I was always kind of what I thought I was going to do. It was great, but it wasn't great at the same time. And so looked at landscaping as a bit of an escape, and got to go to NC State as an industrial engineer, switched over to the horticulture program because I clearly wasn't smart enough to be an engineer, and never looked a day past that. And proud to call myself a landscaper. Love being in the trade industry, love to be in the service industry. And, as things grew and as I learned a lot of lessons the hard way, was looking for opportunities of way to retain our employees. I learned really quickly that your company is only as good as the people you got working for you. And was fortunate enough to get some really, really great key people early. Those key people kept adding up. I was like, how do we keep these guys through the winter? And there's no snowplow and consistent in Raleigh, and there's not a whole lot really anything. So I got online and saw Christmas lights was a thing, and this goes back It was way back in the early 2000s, 2006, and saw that people in California were actually getting paid to put up Christmas lights. And I was like, that's bizarre. Let's give it a shot. So we did that, gave it a shot, and was great. We were able to retain all of our employees. I really honestly was not trying to make it profitable. I was just trying to retain employees. And I thought, to me, that was a silver lining of being profitable, is because I don't have to go through that hiring, rehiring process that following year. And jumped into it. And the next thing I knew, I was trying to hire people for Christmas lights because we didn't have the bandwidth to handle the amount of volume coming in. And then ultimately decided to make it a separate company, took off and had a lot of opportunities, and decided to branch off from JT's Landscaping, a company called Bright Creations. And that was a Christmas light only company. Some landscape lighting and event lighting, other holidays and weddings and other fun things. And then that, continued to run its course, and then was approached to become a distributor in the market. And I was like, absolutely not. I don't know anything about distribution. I'm a service guy. I'm a service, committed person. I really don't see myself being a product pusher. Back and forth. This was actually over a couple of years, going back into 2015. This conversation started, and finally bit the bait and formed a company, Lights for Decorators. And now what's really fun about that is get to work with people through all the trials and tribulations that I went through, and learn things the hard way, and try to figure out how are we going to make things meet, at the end of the month, and how are things going to come together. And I've actually been able to, through a distribution company, still provide service. And that goes back to my core. That's the only thing I know. So here we are distributing lights with the locations in Raleigh and Florida, where we're distributing all over the U.S., but focused predominantly on the Southeast market, and getting to work with companies that have anywhere from 2 guys to literally, I think our biggest one's about 160 employees, but just providing a service to them and helping them build their business one light at a time. And it's a lot of fun. So still doing all 3, not knowing exactly sure how well I'm doing all 3, but I'm doing my best, and having a lot of fun with it, and meeting a lot of great people like yourself. If it wasn't for the great Christmas light industry, a lot of people I consider my friends, I don't think I would even know to this day. So it's been a true blessing. And now my kids are kind of excited about, they've been thinking about, how do we get into that? So it's a lot of fun. I love it.
That's an incredible story. And I'd love to do like a survey out there for entrepreneurs. How many started mowing lawns when they were kids? Because that's what I was doing back in the day. Started out with mowing lawns. I used to love landscaping, but there's a landscaper in every corner here. So that's why I went to the washing. But I mean, you really started like back when you had to really know numbers with old incandescents and everything, right?
Oh, landscape lighting and holiday lighting was, you had to have a little slider chart where you're calculating and I still don't even know if I knew what I was doing, but if it turned on, I was happy. But yes, we dealt with a lot of temporary power. We were robbing power from air conditioners, completely illegal. We were doing whatever we could to find power to get enough power to light these jobs up. And it was crazy. It was today it's easy. Back then, I don't know what I was really thinking, but made it through. So I'm thankful those days are over.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to roll into the LED lighting phase, so I can't say I'm glad that I didn't see that, because I don't want to know about that stuff. And
the bulbs used to break every time you drop a bulb, or you go do a takedown, just touch glass everywhere. Commercial buildings would be sending you bills for holes in their roof because the rubber got penetrated by a broken bulb. It was crazy. It is good now, the Christmas lighting industry, no doubt.
Oh, it's so interesting, your story of transitioning, that you were fighting that distribution, not wanting to do that because you so saw yourself in the service area, and that it turned into something different than you thought. Like, no, I don't run a retail, and I want to push product. That's a completely different thing than service. And it led to this opportunity, like you said, able to serve. And I think that's one of the greatest things as an entrepreneur, as you've gone through the struggles, and gone through the ups and downs and things, being able to also transition into a role where you're able to help other business owners. And you do that, you take your distribution, and we see that as not just I'm giving you product, but it's like you're a great coach and mentor in their life and serving them as well.
Yeah, and honestly, to me, that's what gives you the good feeling when you go to bed at night, right? You think about that, or you think about the guy that just called and said, "Man, I was homeless before we met you, and jumped into the industry, and I just made $60,000." And to some, $60,000 might be nothing,
Mm.
but for a guy that tells me he was literally only almost homeless, to be able to turn around and say that and see the light at the end of the tunnel and get really excited. I mean, that I still just say I still get chills. It's a good feeling. And it's. I always tell people the measurement of success has nothing to do with monetary. The monetary comes from the success, and I think that's something that's huge, and you gotta love what you do, and people get behind it, and it's just fun to be a part of.
And that's the one thing I observed the first time I met you up at your location. I mean, not only did you allow me to bring my kids up there who you've never met, doing a professional training, and they were so thankful. They had so much fun up there, but like just sitting in the back of the room, and I've been to dozens of trainings over the last 7 years. I've seen a lot of speakers speak and train, and just seeing your excitement and energy for it. And it wasn't a pitch. It wasn't a pitch like you need to use Life for Decorators. Like this is the product you got to be like. You were trying to genuinely help those business owners there in every single aspect of their business, not just go ahead and make a profit, put up some lights, and come back next year. Like you were going through everything. Stuff. I mean, I learned while up at that training, so it was like it's just so great to see business owners like out there like yourself still trying to give and give and give, and not say give me, give me, give me. Like you're just like, here, this is what I learned over the last 20 something years. Use it. Don't make the same mistakes I did.
100%. I mean, that's just it. I mean, it's at the end of the day, all of us service guys are all pulling from the same jar, but build value and what we can provide to them, and they can take away, even if it's one little thing that they can leave a training like that with. That one little thing could be a percentage point, and the bigger you get, that one percentage point becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And see the potential trip hazards along the path. It's very easy to run a business when you are the sales guy, when you are the production guy, when you're the installing guy, when you're wearing every hat. That's easy. But to then make that transition and to make it scalable is, I think, where I see the biggest loss or fall off in guys is like, I don't know, I'm working hard, I'm doing more than I ever done, and I'm broke. What's going on? So then there's a lot of basic. It's just basic. It's a lot of basic principles that I think guys can pick up on, and they have to hear it from 15 different people. But if they take a little bit from everybody they heard, piece it together for what they are, that they're going to find their way to success. And I am by no means a good speaker. Don't really like doing that stuff. You guys are both extremely gifted at that. Me, not so much, but hopefully the content backs up the horrible speakingness of my.
You don't give yourself enough credit. When I came, you were doing a workshop as well, and you're pretty good. Your energy and entertainment, humor delivers the content well. So before we go into some Foxhole moments, why don't you share with us a win you're celebrating in some area of your life?
Oh man, there's so many wins. It's hard. It's hard to think about the one win, but I guess here in the moment, what is the win? If I had to pick one right now, it goes back to family every time for me. It's got blessed with a wife that I've known since high school. She's been with me through the thick and thin, and my kids. And when I think about what winning means to me, it always goes back to my. See, I get emotional about it, but it's always family. And just the day-to-day wins of, little stupid things, right? But yesterday was my daughter's 11th birthday, and she's our youngest one. It's like, wow, our youngest is 11. But getting the kids to where we are today as a married family and as an awesome family, it's just, I don't know. I can't celebrate winning as a family, as a dad enough. So I know that's kind of corny, but when I think of winning, that's me winning.
No, we love that. I mean, I've got to hang out with you and the family this weekend, and family is so important, and it's just great seeing very busy entrepreneurs still focus on their family and enjoying it. So that's a huge win, both.
Yeah.
And that's why we do what we do, right? To be able to create the life for our family and be able to live the life that we want with them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, totally. And I think your family extends beyond who you're birthed to, right? Like I look at our work family, I look at the people here, like this is family. And, you know, everything you do, you put into these people. And I don't know, that way gets you out of bed in the morning, ready to rock and roll. And I don't know. I love family.
Awesome. All right, Jimmy. So we talked about a lot of fun stuff, good stuff, family, the business, everything like that, all these bright ideas you have going on. But we know that over the years, like business wasn't just booming, success wasn't knocking at your door every single day. There had to be some moments where you're just like, well, maybe I shouldn't have done this. Maybe I should have been an engineer. Maybe I should have just followed in dad's footsteps. Can we talk about maybe a couple moments where you're just ready to give in and just throw in the towel and say, that's it, I quit. Let's do something different.
Yeah, so there again, I got lots of those as well. But I believe every single one of those. I love failing. I love losing once, and I think everything that I've done, I've screwed it up at least once and learned from it and been better because of it. So I love and I embrace failure. It's definitely something you just got to shake and get better from. But I think when I really learned this lesson, I was 17 years old and I got my first hardscaping job. Knew absolutely nothing about a cut saw, didn't know how to cut a paver. I knew nothing and sold this job, and it was 860 square feet. I will never forget. 860 square foot patio, a very nice home. And I took the job, like, let's do this. And we put that patio down. I didn't even know how to screed. I had no idea how to do anything. So I went out and bought sand and rakes and started making a patio, banging every paver in to the sand with a level. That was attempt number one. Attempt number two, with a little bit of very little YouTube University back then when I was 17 years old, but looked at that and some other resources from Belgard and things. And it's like, okay, let's try this way. We pulled the whole thing up, started from the base up again, put it back down. Customer was starting to be like, what's going on here? Starting to ask questions and back and forth, but he trusted us because we were very honest and open with what was going on. And he knew going into it, didn't have a whole lot of experience. And at the end of the day, he got a smoking deal. So why would he say anything? But not going to go through all the details. The seventh time we put that patio down, and after pulling it up 6 times, it took me 7 times of getting that job done right. And to this day, we have been out and fixed that patio twice, but very little stuff. But that was my first hardscaping experience. And believe it or not, our landscaping company after that moment was really gung-ho hardscapes. And that was because I felt there was nothing that was going to beat us down. I felt like we had it dialed in, and you weren't going to hold us back. So that was probably one of the hardest. All right. So what was I saying? So that was what was the last thing I said?
The hardscaping company.
We built it around.
You went gung ho with the hardscape because if you did that, there was nothing you could not do.
So yeah, at the end of the day, that was an experience for us where, one, never give up, right? Huge NC State fan, Jimmy Valvano, right? Throw some sport analogies at it. Never give up. Keep pushing through. And even though we put that patio down 7 times and pulled it up 6 times, that customer referred us. He still to this day, as I see him around town, will still recollect on that day, which was 14 years ago now. And 24 years ago now.
Hey, come on, man. Don't be lying to us.
And but brutal. I mean, made no money, was terrible. And that was really the first time I had any real conflict that I had to make a decision. Do I walk away from the job and quit and just put my hands in the air and walk away? Do I figure this thing out? Do I conquer? And I think that way at 17 years old, I was like, that was a realization for me that nothing's going to hold me back. Nothing's going to keep me down. You know, you are as good as you are mentally strong, and you got to be willing to take a hit, you know, for your reputation or for, you know, you don't want to be viewed as a quitter, you know, by your employees. by anybody. So that was probably my first experience of being really down and trying to figure stuff out. Um, and definitely one that I think about probably many, many times every month. When I'm feeling doubtful or I just don't have that, man, just what am I doing or second guessing myself. Stay the course and keep learning from it.
So 17-year-old mentality, most second time, third time, like, all right, this is not for me. Here's your money back. Like, go find somebody else. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But you just kept grinding and just mistake after mistake and said, what am I doing wrong? And you just did the research and you tried again, didn't work. Customers like, what's going on here? You're like, sir, I'm 17. What do you want from me right now?
Yeah,
But
no, and I couldn't give his money back because I'd already spent all the money that he gave me. So I was like, I was screwed. I had to get it done. So that was yeah,
and
it
you
was
said,
brutal.
in the beginning, you like to embrace failure. And as an entrepreneur, especially in the early stages, that's very hard. It's very hard to accept failure, to even recognize failure, because we want to think that we know it all and that we're never going to fail and nothing we can do. And it's just a wake up call as we go through entrepreneurship. Like, hey, you're going to fail and it's okay. And it's easier to recognize it, learn from it, figure out how you can not make that same mistake again, and most importantly, teach about it. Like, you're talking about this and being able to teach other people so that hopefully they don't make the same mistake as you. And then they could share that lesson with other people too.
Yep, 100%, 100%. And be willing to look at the mirror and say I screwed up. That's a big part of it. I think a lot of, especially
Ownership.
us men have a real hard time with that, and I'm still not very good at that. My wife screws up everything. I'm always perfect. Um, but no, I mean that's hard. I mean, it's there's a part of yourself saying I screwed up that makes you just like shrug it and move on. And I think it's hard to do, but that's something that's really really important.
Yeah, I forget the exact details, but it was like during the Christmas light install. And it was something stupid. I drove the same job I just went to take lights down today. It was like an hour and a half away. I drove an hour and a half down. I had 3 crews down there waiting on me with a lift. I get down there and I didn't have the freaking key to the lift. So we're all sitting there standing around. And I was like, look, and I didn't want to, I'm not going to point fingers and say, well, you had the truck last, which somebody else did have the truck, and then blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, guys, I F up. I fucked up. Like, I did. And I'm going to own this one. I'm sorry. I didn't make excuses for anything. I'm like, I messed up. Let me go take care of this. And I've got no problem doing that in front of my team, because I want them to show that, like, even I'm not perfect and I can make mistakes. But it's more important to be able to, one, acknowledge it, especially as like an employee, a team member. Like, I don't yell at anybody on my team. I don't care what they do. Like, unless it's like blatant disrespect or something like that. Like, I've had guys drop equipment off the back of the truck and I didn't even care. Are you safe? Yes. Did you get the equipment? No. Somebody stole it within 5 minutes. It was absolutely crazy. But I didn't yell at them because I want them to feel comfortable that if they do fail, they do something wrong, that they can come to me and know that they're not going to get reprimanded. They're not going to get scolded. They're not going to get fired. Like, I want them to feel comfortable rather than hiding things and then us finding out the hard way.
Yep, I agree, and I think that's where the mentality is: mistake is a mistake once, after twice it becomes a habit. And I think the
Right.
second time that thing happens, there is also another thing missing in our lives in this world is accountability. So you can hold people accountable with respect, or you can be a complete raging jerk about it and scream and yell and saliva spitting out of your mouth. Nothing's gonna be accomplished from that, So I've actually been through coaching on the I statements and the discipline with dignity and all these different things that I've heard over the years. And you can say the same thing 15 different ways, and 14 of them could be perceived to be you attacking somebody, and that one way can really be good. But I think that's important. Embrace the mistake, learn from it, document it, make sure it doesn't happen again. And if it does happen again, then there needs to be a performance improvement plan or something put in place to ensure that that behavior is rectified. Otherwise, that could be a huge financial burden and um, could put a lot of stress on that company.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But being the example, and like you said, it is hard, not just for men, for women too, to look in the mirror and say, I own this. I made this mistake. Um, It was my fault. This happened because of me, and saying that. And it's incredible that you had this for so many reasons that this happened to you at 17. Like we said, that you persevered and kept going 7 times. Um, but that you had this experience that you wouldn't give up when it was at the worst of the worst, because it's powerful when you said you think about it a couple of times a month. And we know as entrepreneurs, if we have big goals and are going towards big things, if we are growing, then there are several times a month that you're just like want to burn it all down, probably. And you're like, I give up. I am done. And to be able to have that moment of reflection and go back and say, it's not as bad as that.
You're exactly right. 100%. It's humbling for sure. Yes, I agree.
All right. So you gave us 17-year-old Jimmy. Let's fast forward. Maybe when you had all 3 businesses going, or maybe just 2 of them going, what was another one that you want to talk about?
Let's see. So, I am and I don't know if it's you can nail it down to a time, but I think one of the other big things that I like to overcommit, right? I like to take on too much. And when we made the decision to do the distribution, try to do Bright Creations, and try to do JT's landscaping, I was like, man, that's easy. That's easy. We'll just start delegating stuff. And, as an owner, operator, whatever you want to call your title, I see all these titles of people calling themselves over the time, whatever. At the end of the day, you're the janitor, you're whatever you got to be that day, right? So the one thing that I think that's really put us in some difficult positions is having so much stuff that's got to funnel through me with all 3 companies. And I still don't think this is something that we've gotten through, right? It's a true challenge. If you're a control freak, or you're not willing to delegate and give up responsibilities, or you don't have that trust, I think that is something that I fight on a consistent basis. It's who should do this, how it should be done. We need to redo our process. We need to redo this system. Who is our target avatar of a client? There's so many questions, and you as the guide and the leader and the mentor, whatever your role is within the company, the leader, you're the one that sets that pace, and then you're the one that has to drive and make sure everybody's staying on target. And I feel like a lot of times I'll come out of these situations like, I got it. Don't worry about it. Let me get it. I'll get back to you guys. And I drop the ball, right? You've got however many families that you're feeding that come to you. And I think that's a huge negative that a lot of us do. And ultimately, you're not helping anybody. You're hurting people, and you're holding. You're kind of being the rubber band to hold people back. There's one of you and 200 employees, or however many it is. You can't be the one that does that. So I don't like I say, it's not a specific time, but that's something where I continually to look in the mirror and be like, you know what? Why are you doing this? Why are you getting involved in something you don't even know what you're talking about? Like me talking about social media, forget it. I'm worthless. I don't even know how to even get into TikTok or any of that stuff, right? But let people do what they're good at, work to their skill sets. Don't make a square employee fit a round employee hole. Make the job fit the person, not the person fit the job. And I think that's something that is tough, because we have hearts. We're very empathetic to people, and sometimes you just let them do things too long, or you don't trust them enough, and that creates just a sense of discomfort or frustration, and then that frustration can boil over, and that just can create some toxicity within the environment. And I think that's a struggle for me personally, and that's not really a historical thing. That's a everyday here and now something that I have to constantly say, ask why are you doing? Why are you doing that? What's the point of this? What's the outcome? So that puts me in a foxhole real quick. Trying to figure out how to get out of those situations. And delegation is a beautiful thing, and being a control freak with delegation can be very challenging. So releasing some of that controlness is difficult.
And I think that's a common thread amongst entrepreneurs, because in the beginning, like you said, you're kind of doing it all. and then it's difficult to let go, and not be at least the funnel or oversight of some things. And the balance between that and, I mean, you touched on a lot of things. And am I serving everyone best? A book I just listened to at the gym, part of the book it was seeing everything through that filter. Like, if my kids, my family, my partner, if my leadership team like saw this action, like, is it serving them well? Is this serving my family? Not just is it serving me well, or I think it's serving the company's best interest well because I know best. Let me have the final look at this because I know best. Um, is it serving them well? Is what I'm doing when you're saying you're like constantly evaluating what you're doing. Is this serve people that I'm supposed to be serving? Well,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of times, we look at it as it's going to take me longer to train them, teach somebody else to do it. Let me just get it done. And I think that's a really, invest that time now, because that's going to pay huge dividends, 2-3 weeks from now, So I think people that are in management positions can't be living in the here and now. They got to be 2, 3, 4 weeks ahead of where they're at today. And that's part of the problem is we do live day by day, minute by minute. What's the next thing on my checklist? That's a 911, So I think that's, I'd be interested to know what book that is. That sounds really good. So that's huge for me personally.
The Titans.
Well, you're doing two things too by letting go. One, you're freeing up your time to do the things you really need to be doing, the more important task. And two, now you're empowering that team member to take on that new role, that new responsibility, and free them, like give them the freedom to express themselves in that task, or show you, hey, look, you gave me this and I did it and I execute on it. And it's exactly what you needed. And let me show you something else I want to show you. Like, it just gives them that empowerment to want to keep doing more for you. And that's freeing right there. And just seeing them get excited about completing tasks or goals is incredible. And one of my biggest bad traits is along these lines. Like, one, I used to miss a lot of appointments. I never had a calendar. I never did anything. If it wasn't somebody calling me or texting me for, I was probably missing it. So I got a calendar now on my phone, and I'm 94% showing up to something when I should be. But same thing though. Like, I'm at the office and they're like, hey, we need this. We need to order this stuff. And you said, control freak. I'm like, I'm not a control freak. And then also I'm like, wait, I am a control freak because I have to order everything. Because if somebody doesn't order, they're going to order the wrong thing. And that's like the one thing I need to give up, because they'll ask me all the time, like, hey, JC, we need to get this. All right, I'll get it. I'll take care of it. A week goes by. Hey, did you ever order this? Yeah, they're at back order, and it's coming in, and I'll just go on real quick. Always making some excuse for my failure to execute on something when I should have said, here, you know what? Just go get it. And if it's not the same place I got it from, because they didn't have it, whatever else, just get it. At least I know it's getting ordered. You don't have to worry about coming to find me to see if it's been done. So,
Yep, love it.
Well, I want to talk about, you have a lot of people on your team on all three companies, and I've been up to your place. I've seen your operation, super friendly staff. I love when I get on the phone with them, and you've done an incredible job. That doesn't just happen overnight. And I asked a question the other day on social media. I said, what do you struggle more with, sales or employees? And it was like an astounding employees. And I continually hear, like, I'm not going to hire anymore because nobody wants to work. Or if I hire them, they're going to want to start their own business, or just nobody can do the same job I do. And as somebody who's been up to 23, people on my team, and you've got an incredible amount on your team, I call bullshit. And a lot of the time I feel it's that control in people. They don't want to do it. They don't know how to communicate properly. They just say, here, go do this. And then they get a different result because they didn't communicate how they wanted it done, or didn't afford them the time to teach them properly. What have you done to grow your company and put the right people in the right seat?
Well, it starts with what I said earlier. You got to get you got to make the square person mentality and what they're good at fit that square hole. I think initially you find a person you like and they're good over here. That doesn't mean they're going to be good over there. So if somebody's good at something, stay the course and let them be successful in that role. Just because you need a salesperson, don't take your guy out of production and put him in sales, and vice versa, right? People are wired differently. People have different skill sets, and I it took me forever to figure that out. I mean, I think I probably figured that out within the last 10 years that this guy's an all-star employee. Whatever I put him at, he's gonna be perfect. Wrong, not even close. So that's one is put the right person in the right position to be successful. And just because somebody's bad at something doesn't mean that they're a bad employee. Maybe you misread them. Maybe they applied for a job they had no business being in. Let's where else can they be? Look at their personality now that you know their strengths and weaknesses. Really assess where they can fit within your company, because it's hard to find people. If you got a guy that's showing up every day, reliable, decent attitude, not doing stupid stuff. At the end of the day, if he's showing up for work with a decent attitude, that's pretty hard to find. So figure out what can make that person successful, and put them with the right people as well on a crew. The psychology behind developing crews is much more difficult than it should be. And you got to take a lot of factors into play when you're putting those people on the crew, or what role they're going to be, or who they're going to report to, or whatever that is. So that's something that I think is took me a little bit longer to realize. I think another thing is training and developing. Well, if I train, and this is something we hear from crew leaders a lot. If I train my crew member how to do something, he could take my job. And I'm always like, how could he take your job if that job's yours? And so I've always said, we grow as a company grows. As individuals grow, new opportunities are made. So if that crew leader is doing their part to bring someone to take their job, they need to be starting looking at that. What's that production manager? What's that next step in their career path? Rather than looking behind or looking down the stairs, they got to be looking up the stairs.
Yeah.
And I think once you get people to acknowledge that and realize, don't look who's coming up on me, who am I chasing, or what role am I chasing? That puts a little bit different beat in their step and motivates them a little bit more. We also did this thing called a skills and talents matrix, which I think personally was a huge asset, or is a huge asset. Basically says you're brand new landscaper, you don't know what the heck you're doing, you're going to hold a shovel. You're going to start here as a G1. And it shows you a career path with skills and talents that you have to achieve to get to the next goal. And it puts the onus on them to want it. So, all right, I want to be a G3. Well, a G3 comes with another $4 an hour. But in order to be a G3, I have to learn 30 plants. I have to know these different traits. And it literally takes them and says how you could be a guy that knows absolutely nothing, and enables them to make those steps. So giving them a plan or a roadmap of how to get there, not just look at their clock and say, I've been here for 6 months, where's my 50 cents? At the end of the day, who really wants a 50-cent raise? That's worthless. I mean, 50 cents is nothing. $1 at the end of the day, okay, good, $40 a week. At this point, that's not even a tank of gas. You need to take bigger steps than that and not be counting days. You need to be, what have I learned? Where am I at? And I think that's big. And accountability is another big part of that. I think you have to be not fearful to lose employees, to hold them accountable if you can do it the right way.
Yeah.
And accountability, you have to be yourself being willing to be held accountable. If you're going to hold others accountable, you got to hold yourself accountable and be willing to let them hold you accountable. There is no higher accountability. Accountability is top to bottom, bottom to top. If I say I'm going to do something to the lowest level employee that just started last week, if I say I'm going to make sure I get you the 401k paperwork, and I don't do that, that guy thinks I'm just giving him lip service.
Yeah.
Right. So you value that, or don't overcommit yourself once again to make those mistakes. And it's a culture, embrace the positive, correct the negative, and work on a good fun morale. I know JC, you do a great job with breakfasts and stuff like that. And I think that stuff's great, but at some point that becomes an expectation. Yeah. So how do you change things up? Oh, we didn't get breakfast this month, man. What's up with that? Or like us, we've always at Christmas, we have the boot truck show up and everybody gets a brand new pair of boots out of the truck, right? Little gesture, say thank you, Merry Christmas. We used to do cash bonuses. IRS kind of screwed that all up as well, but but then it became an expectation. Where's my envelope? At the Christmas party. So do things that are different, keep things current, keep things fun, keep people on their toes. If you get in the same habit, those things should be celebrated victories, maybe days without an incident, or hitting a sales goal or hitting a production number. or hitting targets. Celebrate those goals as a team, and share that fun with them, and let them really understand that stuff. It's hard to convey numbers to employees a lot of times because they don't understand what's going on behind the backside. But put some KPIs out there, some metrics. It's a production efficiencies or something like that they can really easily comprehend and know if they're winning or not. And if they're winning, give them that a go. Attaboy, or slap on the butt, whatever you want to do, to let them know. A handshake, a fist bump. Some of the dumbest things can go a long way to celebrate those little victories.
Wow, that was like a handbook on people, Jimmy. You went over so many awesome things of culture, training, right people, right seats, KPIs. One that is really powerful, and I learned this from another lawn and landscape company, is that roadmap that you said, from the very beginning, setting out a roadmap. So they're not focused on the 50-cent raise, that they know exactly how they get to that next seat. Like if they want to be the foreman, if whatever the titles are in your organization, these are the qualifications, the skills needed to get there.
Right.
This is exactly your roadmap of your career path with this. And it keeps it so many things, not just that they're not focused on that next thing or jealous of why someone's making more money. Like it's completely transparent how everyone is treated in the company, and gets that starting person in a career mentality instead of, this is my job for this season, of, hey, I can see myself in a career here and I know exactly how I can meet my goals and what I have to do that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. It takes all the subjectiveness out of it. It becomes very black and white. Did you do it? Yay or nay? No. All right. Well, keep on working. We'll talk in a month. So yep, it's a great tool. It really is. And that's the thing that's really hard to implement when you have one person in one role at a company.
Yeah.
But if you can start somewhere with even a basic job description, right? All that's derived from a job description. So having job descriptions that create clarity is a great way of going to that person at that end of season review or end of year review or midterm review, whatever you're doing. You just sit down and say, all right, what boxes are we checking? What are the things we're going to work on? Write it down, document it, sign it, go out your way and touch base in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. How's the progression coming? How can I help you? And then there again, the training and development side of it is essential, and that goes hand in hand with that roadmap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we spend all this time investing in getting new customers. Why aren't we spending time investing in our team? I mean, they're our biggest customer, our biggest ROI is going to come out of our team. So if we can attract them, change it from job to career, because I use that all the time. I'm like, do you want a job? Because a job is temporary, a career is forever. That doesn't mean you're going to stay with us forever, but we have a home for you. And then grow them personally and professionally, because you want to care about them. And then they're going to invest back in you as well, because they know that you care about them. So they're going to care about yourself and your company. And it helps build that culture. And you're either going to have culture. It's either bad or good. So start it young. And if you have great culture, then you're going to have your team recruiting for you to bring other people to come work for you. Yeah. It's simple, but people overthink it. And they just have their blinders on. And I did a live yesterday talking about that. It's like, are you willing to accept criticism? Because I see it all the time, like the same people saying over and over, I can't hire people. Every day I fire somebody. It's a new person every other week. Well, it's not the people you're hiring. It can't be. It can't be that you cannot keep one person for 6 months because you are just the worst person hiring people. And it might be, but it's probably the systems that you built out. You're too controlling. You can't let go. You're not communicating properly. So we need to look into ourselves first and have somebody come with an open mind and see what we're doing, accept their criticism and say, hey, like, you need to fix this. You're doing this wrong, and not get defensive about it and say, thank you. Like, now I can stop spending money, because the amount of money we spend to go recruit great talent, train them, invest in them, and then start that over every 90 days, that's really expensive.
Yeah.
First, build it out, build them the roadmap, and have the fundamentals and the stepping stones for them to set themselves for success. And then you're only training once, and then they could train the person that there's going to work underneath them, and you don't have to do it over and over and over. Yeah, I don't think you're out there training everybody every week, are you, Jimmy?
I don't even know if I know how to drive a Z-mower at this point. Probably in straight lines. I can drive a Z-mower, but I guarantee you my lines are horrible. But no, I think one other point to add to that when you were speaking made me think of, you cannot be fearful of your key employees leaving and going and starting their own company. I actually think that's something that a lot of people freak out about.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee you, I remember when I lost my first key person, I thought my world was over. I was like, what am I going to do? And when you take a minute to sit back, embrace that, encourage that, and time will tell. But if you bring somebody in and you created an opportunity for them, for whatever you did to get them to where they are, to take that opportunity or to take that next step, there's going to be a day where there's going to come a point in time where you just aren't going to have an opportunity for everybody. And their growth is to move on. But the way you do that and the way you can parlay and work with people that have moved on, one of our key employees that left 15 years ago refers us on every irrigation system, all lighting jobs, everything. We get so much work. And I could have easily been a jerk and like, screw you, I'm not going to let him do any of this. But we kept a great relationship. And now he probably refers us $200,000 worth of work a year that he just doesn't do. So, that is something that I think a lot of people don't. And trust me, when it happens, it's still a shot. But, that's something that you should be proud of, that you got them to the point where they can take that next step.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it hurts at the moment, but like you said, it's one of the things you should be most proud of, that you grew someone into a leader to lead their own company.
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
Well, Jimmy, this show has come and gone like Christmas. And I'll tell you what, as excited as I am for next Christmas to come, I'm excited for the next time to see you. And I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day, for sharing all these gold nuggets to our viewers. And what a blessing to have met you several months ago and become friends. And I look forward to getting that relationship even better over the years and just constantly being able to learn from you and what you've been able to build and grow. So thank you.
No, likewise, I appreciate you guys doing a great job with all your stuff. I love it. And keep up the great work, and looking forward to the next time hanging out soon.
All right. Well, that's another episode of In the Foxhole. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Stay tuned for our next episode next week.